3-1 FM and 1450 AM KZNU.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. I never understood a single word.
Hello and welcome to the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life. This is Andy. I'm filling in for our regular host and game CEO, Kyle Case, who's away today. We're here every Thursday from 4:30 to 5, and you can also access this and past shows at our website at www.seniorgames.net. In the past 3 weeks or so, we have been highlighting some special athletes of the Huntsman World Senior Games. Some were former Olympians, even professionals, and others just ordinary athletes who simply refuse to let age get the best of them. This week is a real treat because we have members of what I would consider an elite team of fitness and health experts from the Intermountain Healthcare's LiVeWell Center. So joining us in studio today are Trever Smith. Hey, Trever.
Hey, Andy. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm glad you're here. And also Terri Coneg. Terri, how are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Thanks for asking.
Well, we're glad you're in here. I think most of us have heard about, of course, Intermountain Healthcare. And there's this thing called the LiVeWell Center, and I want to talk about that. I think most of us want to hear about it. But before we go there, let's just talk a little bit about how unique and proactive is this approach that you guys are doing with health and well-being. So I want to talk about that, but first let's talk about you guys. How did you get where you are? How did you get in the line of work that you do? What's your story, Trever?
Well, clinically, I'm an exercise physiologist. I have a bachelor's and master's in exercise physiology. And most exercise physiologists work in cardiac or pulmonary rehab. So right out of college, I was a new grad. I was excited. I was green. I was fresh. I showed up at cardiac rehab to heal the heart patients of St. George. And I realized that we had a lot of work to do, a lot of education to do with these patients. We were good at treating them. We were good at the intervention. We were good at the rehabilitation. And then we'd send them home out into the great wilderness. And in 6 to 8 months, I would see them back.
Really?
Because we hadn't truly educated them to lifestyle and weight management. We hadn't given them the tools to really stop the chronic conditions and the debilitating conditions that brought them to our cardiovascular services. Mm-hmm. So frustrated, upset, and a little downtrodden, I was able to go to the wellness center. That's
awesome. So we're going to talk about that wellness center. You graduate from college, you start doing your thing, and you realize there's something missing. There's something more that needs to be done to help these people rehabilitate correctly and really live a great life. Now, Terri, tell us a little bit about how did you get here?
Well, this is actually my encore career, which means this is the career you take up after you've done your climbing to the top.
Right.
And I decided to go into aging because I looked at myself and I said, I don't want to age like my parents. And so I became a gerontologist. That's a master's program, Master's of Science. And I got out of college, just like Trever, only my third time. And I came to St. George and worked for the hospital in senior services. But now the hospital, which I'm not sure everybody knows, but Intermountain is in the wellness business.
Yeah.
You know, it's there for when you're sick, but it really wants to keep you well.
See, that's what's exciting to me, and that's a great segue into this LiVeWell Center. Now, the LiVeWell Center is fairly new. Is that right?
It is, yeah, within the last 3 years.
And what's the philosophy? What's the idea? What are you guys doing that's kind of not the traditional way that we're used to? You know, we think hospital, you go there when you're sick.
Well, Andy, our tagline for the Wellness Center is we help you get well, stay well, and live well for the rest of your life. If you look at our business model, it's truly counterproductive to the hospital. The hospital makes money off sick individuals, but ethically for our community, we felt we needed to have a program to keep them well, to keep them so they can live the rest of their lives and be happy and have that quality of life.
So to have a place for those heart patients to come to stay well, because we've got them well, we've done whatever magic medicine does to your heart, and then they can actually take classes that are right out of cardio rehab. There's cardio rehab, and then there's the LiVeWell Center, which is the next step you take before you go back to your Gold's Gym or your Summit or any other community activity. So we have those classes, we have those programs, those biometric screenings that you can take to give yourself information and your docs more information about yourself.
That's awesome. Now, I want to get into those tests, but this is something I just feel like saying right now. I don't know how many people
Go, Andy.
feel the same as me who are listening to the show.
Don't hold back.
But it is amazing to me. You know, traditional medicine, it seems like, would say, don't do this. I mean, I know that there's an ethic, and I know there's a Hippocratic oath. I get that. But there's this idea of, no, I mean, we want them to be well, but go ahead and get sick because they'll come back and we'll help them again. But you said, Trevor, that it's actually, you know, kind of quote unquote bad for the hospital because you're keeping people healthier. Yet the traditional medicine and the doctors over at Intermountain Healthcare are all on board with it.
Yeah, so Intermountain Healthcare is about providing extraordinary care. Part of extraordinary care is providing that quality of life for more than just our cardiac patients,
Right.
but anyone that's battling obesity, chronic conditions, and keeping them out of the hospital. For years, medicine has operated in silos, where you go to the cardiologist for a heart problem, you go to the orthopedic doc for a joint problem, you go to the pulmonologist for a lung issue. That's changing.
That's awesome.
We have a collaborative effort now within Intermountain Healthcare and the Wellness Center.
I feel like a lot of us are listening to that and saying, "Oh, finally!"
Oh.
You know, it's
well,
so great.
You're absolutely right. It's finally we're getting integrated. It's a team sport now. Health is a team sport, and you're on the team.
Yeah.
You and your personal and your healthcare team, and LiVeWell is definitely has a part in all of that.
It seems like something that's similar to me is when I was younger, it seemed like anything natural medicine, you know, was like, oh, that's weird. But now it almost seems like the doctors and mainstream medicine is kind of integrating some of the natural medicine as well, and that's kind of similar. Now, you had mentioned, Terri, you talked about how important the cardiology patients are to you guys. But if I'm not a cardiology patient, I'm 55 and I feel like I'm getting a little bit older, but I still, you know, want to be young. I can, you know, it's a little harder to keep the body fat around my midsection off of me. So I don't have to be a cardiology patient. I don't have to have heart problems necessarily to come into the LiVeWell Center.
No, I was actually referring to Trevor's reference when he first got out. He went to cardiac rehab. Absolutely not. We want everyone, and you know, we take care of the lifetime athlete. You know, for those who just want to stay in shape and go to the Huntsman World Games, and we will also get you ready for the games. And we do that with classes. We have nutritionists that can consult on your diet, sports medicine, sports food, nutrition. We have everybody is at a master's level. So I'm really proud of that.
All of the care providers
every single provider that we have, and it's run like a family. We're like a happy family. When you come in, we know their names. It's kind of like a Cheers bar for health.
Huh.
You know, everybody knows your name.
That's great. So that really brings me to my next question. Let's just say I want to come in, and what happens? What do you do, Trevor?
Well, it's a self-referral process. Physicians can also refer. We like to keep your physician in the loop of what's going on. But you come in and we do an initial assessment talking about what are your needs, rather than just going to the doctor and they're saying, you need to exercise and lose weight. What does that mean? That's a complex behavior change. Let's sit down and see what are you facing and what are you really willing to do. And let's work in that area. And let's improve your health there, and then you might be more able or excited or ready to conquer another realm. Not everyone wants to work on nutrition. Not everyone wants to work on exercise.
But one thing at a time, right?
It might be your social connections, your emotional needs where you need to see a health coach. It may be the diet where you need to meet with a dietitian. So it's a collaborative practice that meets you where you are, putting you in the seat of your chief medical director.
So I come in and I say, hey, I just feel like I could lose some pounds. I want to run a half marathon. I'm kind of nervous about that. What do you do? What are some of the tests does it just depend, or is there some sort of a regimen that we all go through?
Well, kind of the standard for the LiVeWell Center is a great assessment which we've created called the LiVeWell Center Assessment. It truly is a comprehensive assessment. It's 2.5 hours. It's $199, but it sets you up with body composition, a resting metabolic rate test, which tells us how many calories you are burning on your own, how efficient your metabolism is, and we can really talk about how you should be eating or how to improve your diet, a functional fitness assessment, which compares you to other individuals within your demographic, a game plan to get you going, and also a nutritional evaluation, and 3 months of follow-up with a health coach. It's a great value.
So for $199, I go in, I take how many tests? 5 or 6 different tests?
It's 7 steps.
Okay.
And you leave with a game plan.
So everything from, my weight and my heart rate and things like that to...
Right.
When you say body composition, what does that actually mean?
So you sit in, it's called a bod pod, and it looks like the egg from Mork and Mindy, if you're familiar with that.
Right, yeah.
But to take off, you have to put in an extra 25 cents.
Oh.
No. But it tells me how much fat mass you have on you, how much lean mass you have on you, and then we can talk about what's appropriate. And if you're feeling like you have a little too much fat mass on you, we can talk about how much is appropriate for you to lose, what's a reasonable time frame, and set those goals so you can achieve them and become that person that you've wanted to be or that person you have been.
I can just add to that, since I'm a living example of the bod pod and of a certain age. That's code, you know that. I lost 40 pounds, and I thought, I'm getting right into the bod pod. And I learned that I was still mostly fat because I'd lost the weight and probably muscle mass, because after 50, we all know,
It's easy to lose
I've
that.
fallen and I can't get up. Yeah, it's because you could lose your muscle mass and your strength. And I hadn't done anything about that. So that was 4 years ago, and now all I have to say is now I know I'm making muscle as we speak right now, Andy.
Yeah, well, and it's so important. It's so important to do. So many people, especially females, I think they think, oh, well, I don't want to look manly. I mean,
Yeah.
you need muscle mass to help you keep a high metabolism. And
Exactly.
Right.
It helps you utilize more calories.
Absolutely.
As we get older, muscle is so important.
And women often eat so far below their metabolic rate that they're encouraging their body to act like a savings account. Right. Everything that comes in, it holds on to.
They could actually eat more if they understood better how metabolism works, how portion control as well as time, eating time frames and things like that work. Right? They could actually eat more and be less hungry.
It's truthfully a
Right.
science. And everything we do is evidence-based. It's the gold standard for the industry. Where there are so many individuals out there, we think we want to lose weight, so I need to eat less.
Right.
That's not necessarily the truth. You need to be eating a certain threshold so your body can build muscle, utilize those calories, which will facilitate weight loss.
Now that brings me to a question. I kind of know the answer to this because I've been interested in it as well. But I think a lot of people think I need to lose weight. But it seems like you're saying, no, you don't necessarily need to lose weight. You need to lose body fat.
Definitely fat. Yeah, you have to lose the fat, and you can, and we help. I mean, Trever is an exercise physiologist. He understands. If I could only say, I wish when I was a younger woman, your age, Andy, 29, and I wish I'd had this technology, because it so informs you about what your body is doing, and you want him. And Trever advises on how to build the muscle and get rid of the fat.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like one quick story, I just have to tell you. Up in Cedar City at the university up there, I went and did a bod pod thing a few years ago, and at the time, I weighed 168 pounds. Right, so then I had a diet regimen and I worked out like crazy and I really did good for, I think it was 16 weeks. I came back in and did another bod pod and I was 169 pounds. So after all of this time, after all of this work, I weighed 1 pound more. What the heck happened?
Right.
But the professor there showed me I had lost like 17 pounds of fat. I replaced it with 18 pounds of muscle. So it didn't really matter what my weight was. I looked and felt much better.
Oh my God, that's a great story.
Yeah.
One thing people don't realize is what that fat is doing to your health. That fat is tied to what's called all-cause mortality, increased risks of heart disease, cancer, pulmonary issues. 1 pound of fat has almost a mile of blood vessels in it within the veins, the arteries, and the capillaries. So think about how hard your heart was
Your
working,
heart
Andy.
has to work so much harder.
And then the volume of that pound of fat, the space that 1 pound of fat takes up is the same space as 3 pounds of muscle. So while you didn't see a change on the scale, I bet you saw a change in your measurements. Your
Definitely.
pants were fitting better. Your shirts were feeling better.
Yep. I went from a 34 waist to a 31, and I felt younger and I felt stronger, and it was really cool. So, so we've talked about the bod pod. That helps you find out how much muscle mass you have as
Versus
opposed to
fat.
how much fat you have. And what are now? There's other tests. I think there's a test where you basically be as calm as you can, and you find out how many calories you burn just sitting around. So like not exercising, but if you just sat around. Tell me about that test.
Yeah, so that test is called the resting metabolic rate test. I tell all the clients, if I could only do one test, this is the test I would do. I would
feel the
love for
same
everyone
way.
to do all of them.
Yeah.
But this test, you breathe through what looks like a snorkel device. You're laying down or you're reclined in a chair. You have a nose clip on. And what it's testing is it's testing how many calories you are burning at rest, which is your resting metabolic rate.
Okay.
Knowing that number will give us a good idea, an exact idea for that individual of how many calories a day they need to be eating to lose weight. We can put in their goal, and it will tell us how long it should take to reach their goal weight. It will tell me what they're burning, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and it will also tell me where they're at in comparison to their demographic. We have so many clients come in that say, well, my metabolism must be slow. Well, maybe it is. So
Let's
let's
find out
talk
for
about
sure.
how to speed it up, because there's ways to make your metabolism more efficient. But maybe it's not, and if we just ate within this caloric range, our metabolism would pick up. We would lose that weight.
That's awesome. So Terri,
Yes.
let's just say I go in, I do this test. Tell me the name of the test again.
Resting metabolic rate, or
Re-
we call it for short RMR.
Okay, so the resting metabolic rate, or RMR. I go in there, I do this test, and I find out that at rest, not running around, not doing anything else, at rest on a daily basis, my body just sitting there burns, let's say, 1,600 calories. So now what?
Well, that's your baseline. So that's you know, at home, sleeping, resting. That's what you're burning. So that's usually the baseline, and from that you build, your daily activities, any exercise you're doing, all of that on top, and then that begins to give you a range for losing weight, a range for maintenance, and a range for losing weight, and number of calories, that is.
So
And
you guys can give me a diet, basically, that
Right.
says, hey, Andy, you need to be eating
Hang in here, right.
2,100 to 2,300 calories or whatever it
Right.
is. And then I know for a fact that if I stay in that range, I am going to lose weight over the long
Exactly. That test, it's evidence-based and it's individualized for Andy. It's not an equation through MyFitnessPal or some program. It's Andy's metabolism, because everyone's so different. And your dietary habits are different. Your metabolism's different.
Yeah.
So why not have a correct
Exactly.
metabolic rate that's catered to you?
Well, this is for women who've dieted. I dieted 45 years before I caught on. And for women who have gone up and down and up and down and yo-yoed around, and we know who we are. Every woman who comes in and says, oh, I just know my metabolism is dead. I just know it. I've killed it. And I felt the same way. And lo and behold, they find out that it's either normal, maybe it's a little slow, but by exercising and the more muscles you build, your metabolism goes up, because you are, it is such a beautiful mechanism, the body, the
It's
way
like a machine or a factory or
the
something.
incredible machine. That's what our bodies are. And it's just been great having this information and being on my own journey of health, as well as helping others.
Sure. So I go through these tests, the bod pod being one, the RMR, the resting metabolic
Yes,
rate.
that's right.
Some other different tests. And then two things I want you to touch on as we get a little bit closer to the end of the show. But is one, tell me about body age. Do you guys kind of tell, if you said, Andy, you're actually, you're 36, but your body age is 58, what does that mean? And then the second thing is, what do you do now? Like, we get the testing all done. We know what my body fat is. We know what my body age is. I don't know if you do that or not. I've heard of it. And then what do I do?
So with the body age, we kind of do that. All of the tests will show how you compare to your demographic. So if you're superior for your demographic, you may have the functional fitness or the metabolism of a 30-year-old. And I know you're only 30, Andy, so you're right on track.
You're my friend.
Or you may be having the functional abilities of someone that is older than your real age. And we can talk about how to improve that. And all of these assessments lead up to a plan and a program that's individualized for your needs, that takes your abilities, your concerns, your medical conditions into consideration. It's very individualized. It's not cookie cutter.
Have you ever had a 40-year-old come in and have a body age of 70?
Do you know what happens all the time? Life is such a diverse journey, and we all go through it so differently that due to chronic conditions or an injury, so many people have these elements that are looking to improve their health. And the LiveWell Center and Intermountain Healthcare is providing that service that is so vital to that individual. It means living longer, picking up your grandkids, being at your daughter's wedding.
Sure.
So many things to improve your health that you don't have to live in that state anymore. Science has advanced so much, as has healthcare, that we can improve your health. We can improve your feeling of well-being.
And again, not guessing, using scientific, researched, vetted methods.
At an affordable price.
Yeah,
This is
$199.
priced.
That's amazing.
I just wanted to say, I calculated all the tests and all the coaching that goes with it, and it's a $400 value. So, we're offering it that now, but it may not be the same in a year.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're getting close. I go in, we do these tests, I get a real scientific view of where I am, and now what? What do you guys do to help support me?
We help you create what we call a wellness prescription that's individualized for Andy's needs, what we have found. We send you home with that information after we have really went through that wellness prescription, and we have you come in 2 more times to learn an exercise prescription that goes along with that if that's one of your goals. We also kind of cast this net of support around you where we follow up with you for 3 months, really making sure what we had planned is working. And if it's not, we can modify it to meet your needs or your situation, because things come up.
Oh, yeah. I'm the back end of this process. So we check in, but they have total access to a coach for the whole 3 months. Some need more. Some come into the center once a week, and we talk about some of the challenges or where is their success happening, and we build on the successes. Everybody needs a coach, and particularly women, perhaps my age, which is 50 and older. My
I was going to say 42.
Oh, darling.
42.
And
flattery will get you everywhere. That's what my mom
totally.
used to say.
You can take my car. Go ahead. What was I saying? I was so flustered.
Oh, just particularly women, they need a coach.
Well, I think I didn't have coaches so much. We had phys ed, but we didn't have like a coach like guys did. And everybody needs a coach sometimes to whisper the positive in your head when you are having such negative self-talk that you are defeating yourself.
Exactly.
You're sabotaging yourself right in between your ears.
And your coach can say, no, you're doing great.
And talk you out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
and give you other words to use to describe yourself. It's a whole new language when you get into health.
Yeah. So you guys would teach me certain exercises.
Sure, that you could do at home.
Teach me some routines that I could
or
go
at our
I could
facility.
actually go into your facility and do some things with you.
So the Wellness Center offers 40 fitness classes a week that are individualized to your ability. And it's
Now, how many?
40. We
so
have
there's
40 a
40
week.
different classes.
7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
You have classes that you could go in.
All day, and it's for any functional level. So no matter where you're at, if you're in a chair using a walker or a cane or assisted device, we've got a class for you. Our Life Flight crew that has to hike and design and get patients out, we have a class for them. And part of the assessment is putting you in the right spot.
Right.
So nobody ever gets hurt. They work on what's weakness. They build their strengths and they build their weaknesses.
So,
Don't you want to go? Come
no,
on.
It makes me excited. I just want to let those who are just joining us know that we're here with the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life Show. I'm Andy, sitting in for our host, Kyle Case. We're here with Trever Smith and Terri Coneg from the Intermountain Healthcare LiVeWell Center. I just want to take a minute before we jump off and just thank all of the volunteers and sponsors of the Huntsman World Senior Games. We generally have close to 2,500 volunteers that help each year with sports, refreshments, registration, transportation, and all kinds of things. If it weren't for them, we really couldn't do the games. Also, our sponsors, I think a lot of people don't realize that if it weren't for them, the prices of registration for the Huntsman World Senior Games would be double.
Right.
And many people don't know this, but we are the largest annual multi-sport event in the world for people 50 and older. So I want to thank our sponsors too. And just thank Trever and Terri for being in here with us. That's it for today. To find out more about registering to compete and volunteer or patronize our sponsors, go to www.seniorgames.net. Registration is now open for 26 different sports, and since competition is broken up by category and skill level, you're sure to have a great time. We hope you'll make the right choice right now and live the active life. You won't regret it. We'll see you next week. Thanks again, Terri and Trever.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a
great.
pleasure.
It was great having you.
Fox News 93.1 FM. Translator K244DU St. George. 1450 AM KZNU St. George. KENT Parowan.
Fox News Radio, I'm Paul Stevens. A new Pentagon report. Fox News Radio, I'm Paul Stevens. A new Pentagon report. Fox News.